My parents gave my sister $100,000 for her wedding, but told me, "You're not worth helping." So I walked away for good. 3 years later, my sister drove past my $2 million home and broke down crying. Why does she have that? Imagine your parents pouring $100,000 into your sister's dream wedding, only to look you in the eye weeks later and say you deserved nothing for yours. What if their reason was a brutal, shocking truth that confirmed every insecurity you'd ever had? You were a disappointment, and you hadn't earned their love. Growing up in Boston, our family looked picture perfect on the outside. My dad, a respected surgeon, my mom, a tenured English professor. We had the colonial house, the annual vacations, the American dream. But beneath that polished surface, there was a stark, undeniable truth. My older sister, Vanessa, was the golden child. Vanessa, 3 years my senior, embodied everything my parents valued. Academically brilliant, socially graceful, and always ready to walk the path they'd laid out. She looked like our mom with her honey blonde hair and blue eyes, while I, with darker hair, took after our dad. But the differences ran far deeper than appearance. The favoritism started early. When it was time for high school, Vanessa got into Phillips Academy, an elite private school. My parents spared no expense, believing it would set her up for life. 2 years later, when my turn came, the story changed. Tuitions become too expensive, Mom explained, enrolling me in public school. Besides, you've always been more independent. That wasn't independence, it was necessity. While Vanessa got constant guidance, I learned to figure things out alone. When she turned 16, a brand new Honda Civic with a giant red bow appeared in our driveway. "You've proven yourself responsible," Dad beamed. For my 16th birthday? No car. "Get a part-time job if you want one," they suggested. So I did, spending weekends at a coffee shop, eventually buying a beat-up, 10-year-old Toyota. "This will teach you the value of hard work," Dad said, as if my struggles were all part of a grand plan. The pattern continued. Vanessa got a graduation trip to Europe. I was told college was expensive enough. She went to Northwestern, all expenses paid, comfortable apartment, generous allowance. My college applications? A dramatically different conversation. "We've already spent so much on education," Mom sighed. "Student loans will teach you fiscal responsibility. Everyone has debt these days." I managed a partial scholarship to Boston University, but still piled on loans and worked 20 hours a week. Against their advice, I pursued marketing. They thought it was less prestigious than law or medicine, their preferred choices. "Marketing is for people who couldn't get into better programs," my father sneered during a holiday dinner, not bothering to lower his voice. It stung, but I excelled, made the dean's list, and secured competitive internships. Then I met John. He was studying computer engineering, working to pay his way through school, just like me. His parents, both teachers, made it clear they loved him but couldn't finance his education. We connected instantly over our shared drive and values. While Vanessa and I grew apart, John and I grew closer, studying late, sharing cheap meals, dreaming of building something meaningful. After graduation, we both landed jobs, moved in together, and meticulously paid down our student loans. While Vanessa moved back home for a year, leisurely job searching, John and I pushed forward. 3 years later, on a hike through the White Mountains, John proposed. There was no elaborate setup, no expensive ring, just a genuine moment and his grandmother's simple gold band. It meant the world to me. "We don't need anything fancy," I told him, as we discussed wedding plans. "Just something small and meaningful." We set a $10,000 budget, months of careful saving, planning a park ceremony and a reception at our favorite local restaurant. No designer dresses, no elaborate florals. Just us. That was our plan until Vanessa announced her engagement. Her fiancé, Gregory, was the son of one of Dad's partners. He'd never worked a day in his life, but he came from the right family. My parents were ecstatic. They threw an impromptu party, champagne, catering, everyone invited, except John and me, almost an afterthought via text. At the party, Vanessa glowed, flashing an enormous diamond ring. My mother fluttered around them like a delighted butterfly. My father clapped Gregory on the shoulder. Then came the announcement. "We want to give them the wedding they deserve," my mother declared. Vanessa and Gregory, $100,000 toward their wedding expenses. Gasps of approval, Vanessa squealed with delight. I felt John tense beside me, but I squeezed his hand. I was happy for her, truly, but the contrast to our modest plans was glaring. Later, Vanessa showed me her Pinterest board, Napa Valley, 200 guests, designer gown, live band. "You'll be a bridesmaid, of course," she gushed. But Olivia's maid of honor. Olivia, someone she'd known for 5 years, versus her own sister. I just smiled. "John and I are planning something small, but we're excited too." She looked confused. 6 months? Outdoors? What if it rains? She couldn't fathom something so simple. "We want to keep it intimate and meaningful," I explained. And we're working with what we can afford. Well, I'm sure Mom and Dad will help you too, she said, though her tone suggested otherwise. But that comment planted a seed of hope. Maybe they would, not $100,000, but something to show they valued my happiness equally. The next weekend, John and I went to their house. The atmosphere was cold, quiet, nothing like Vanessa's celebration. No special dinner, just lasagna. My father watched golf until Mom called him. We made small talk. They asked John about his job, talked about the weather, anything to avoid the topic. Finally, as Mom served coffee, I broached it. John and I are planning our wedding. It's going to be tight with our loans and rent. My parents exchanged a look. My father cleared his throat. And what exactly are you expecting from us? His tone immediately put me on the defensive. We're not expecting anything, John interjected politely. But Sarah thought it would be nice to discuss if you might want to contribute, as is traditional. My mother set her cup down with a clink. Traditional is for traditional couples. Couples who follow the proper order of things. A chill spread through my chest. What is that supposed to mean? My father leaned forward. It means, Sarah, that your sister has always made choices that align with our family values. She attended the right schools, pursued a respectable career, and is marrying into a family that will enhance her social standing and security. My mother continued, while you, Sarah, have consistently chosen to do things your own way. You rejected our advice about college. You picked a career in advertising of all things, and now you're planning to marry. She trailed off, glancing at John as if he were an unwelcome piece of furniture. A software engineer, John filled in, his voice steady despite the obvious insult. Someone we barely know, my father corrected, someone from a background that, frankly, doesn't match our family's social circle. I felt as if I'd been slapped. John is brilliant, kind, and hardworking. His parents are educators. What exactly is wrong with his background? There's nothing wrong with being a school teacher, my mother said, in a tone that suggested quite the opposite. But Vanessa is making a match that will secure her future. Gregory's family has connections, resources, standing in the community. So, this is about money? I asked, incredulously. It's about choices, my father said firmly. And the simple fact is, Sarah, that you do not deserve the same help Vanessa does. You have not earned it. The words hit me like physical blows. You do not deserve. You have not earned it. My voice barely a whisper, I asked, what would I have needed to do to deserve your support? Marry someone rich? Study what you wanted? Be someone other than who I am? My mother sighed. This attitude is exactly what we're talking about. Vanessa understands family obligation. She visits regularly, attends functions, maintains the right social connections. What have you done besides pursue your own interests without any regard for how it reflects on us? We've worked hard. I bit back tears. We've paid our own way, built careers we're proud of, found happiness together. I thought that would matter to you. What matters, my father said coldly, is that we are giving Vanessa $100,000 for her wedding because she deserves it. We will attend your wedding as guests, but do not expect financial support. You have made your independent choices. Now live with them. John reached for my hand, his touch grounding me. I think we should go, he said quietly. As we stood, my mother added the final blow. Vanessa has always done everything right. I'm sorry to say it, Sarah, but you have been nothing but a disappointment. The drive home was a blur of tears and disbelief. The parents who should have loved me unconditionally had just confirmed what I'd suspected for years. In their eyes, I would never measure up, not because of any moral failing, but simply because I chose to be myself instead of the daughter they wanted me to be. That night, held by John, I made a decision that would alter the course of my life. If my family couldn't accept me as I was, maybe it was time to redefine what family meant to me. The morning after that devastating dinner, I woke up with swollen eyes and a physical ache in my chest. John was already at the kitchen table, researching budget wedding venues. Maybe we could cut the guest list even further, he suggested. Or push the date back. I shook my head, still reeling. I can't believe they actually said those things. John reached for my hand. Their loss, he said. We're going to build an amazing life together, with or without their blessing. His quiet confidence helped, but I still felt the need to talk to Vanessa. I called, hoping for sisterly solidarity. Sarah, this is a surprise, she said, distracted. Is everything okay? Not really, I admitted. Dinner with Mom and Dad didn't go well. Oh, she said, suddenly uncomfortable. They mentioned you might be asking for money. The casual way she said it stung. I wasn't asking for money. I just thought they might want to contribute something, like they are for yours. But they made it clear I don't deserve their help. Look, Sarah, she said, I don't want to get in the middle, but you have to admit you've always done things your own way. You can't expect the same support when you don't follow their path. My throat tightened. So you agree? That I'm undeserving because I made my own choices. Don't be so dramatic, she snapped. It's not about deserving. It's about family expectations. I fulfilled them. You rebelled. Actions have consequences. Expectations like what? Marrying someone wealthy? A career path I have no interest in. Don't be jealous of me because I chose the right path, she shot back. Gregory and I share values with mom and dad. We participate in family traditions. We maintain the right social connections. What have you ever done except pursue your own agenda? It was eerily similar to my mother's words. In that moment, I knew. Vanessa wasn't my ally. She was too invested in the dynamic where she was the golden child and I was the disappointment. I thought you might understand, I said quietly. Or at least recognize how unfair this is. Life isn't fair, Sarah. Some of us work hard to maintain family harmony, while others just do whatever they want and then complain. Then, she quickly added, look, I have to go. Gregory's waiting to look at venues. The call ended, and with it, my last hope for understanding within my family. In the weeks that followed, I threw myself into work, taking on extra projects. John worried, but understood my need to focus on something productive. Meanwhile, Vanessa's wedding planning was in full swing. My mother's group texts about venue selections, floral arrangements, dress fittings. Each message felt like salt in a wound. I even received a formal bridesmaid invitation, demanding attendance at 5 pre-wedding events, a $1,000 dress, and contributions to a luxury bachelorette in Miami. The financial burden was huge, but it was the emotional toll I couldn't bear. I called Vanessa. I can't be a bridesmaid, I told her, offering to attend as a guest. Her reaction was immediate and furious. This is so typical of you, Sarah. Always thinking of yourself. Everyone will ask why my own sister isn't in my wedding party. You can tell them the truth, I suggested, that I can't afford the financial commitment right now. This isn't about money, it's about your attitude. You've always been jealous of me and now you're trying to ruin my special day. No explanation could convince her. The conversation ended with her threatening to uninvite me, though a formal invitation still arrived. As the wedding approached, John and I debated whether to go. Part of me wanted to avoid the inevitable emotional minefield, but another felt that not attending would only reinforce their narrative about me being selfish. We'll go, John decided. Hold our heads high, be polite, and leave if needed. We have nothing to be ashamed of. Vanessa's wedding day was bright and clear. Napa Valley, a vineyard, every detail screaming expense and privilege. I found Vanessa in the bridal suite, surrounded by bridesmaids in identical lavender gowns. She looked stunning in a designer dress that probably cost more than our entire wedding budget. Sarah, she acknowledged coolly. Glad you could make it. You look beautiful, I said sincerely. Congratulations. Mom seated you and John at table 11 with Dad's cousins. I hope that's okay. Table 11, I later discovered, was the farthest from the head table, tucked behind a giant floral arrangement. We were with distant relatives who didn't even know who we were. One elderly aunt repeatedly asked John if he was the photographer boy. When my parents made their rounds, their greeting was cordial but brief. Glad you could make it, my father said stiffly. Lovely ceremony, I offered. Vanessa looks happy. She deserves it, my mother replied. She has always made us proud. The implication hung in the air, unlike you. The real knife twist came during the toasts. My father stood, glass raised, praising Vanessa as an exemplary woman who had fulfilled every hope we had for her. Vanessa has never taken a misstep, he declared proudly. Every choice, every decision has been thoughtful and aligned with our family values. My mother followed, highlighting Vanessa's adherence to tradition and family duty. Some children follow their own path, she said, her gaze briefly finding mine in the crowd, but Vanessa has always understood the importance of family expectations. This wedding, which we are proud to fully support, is a testament to her character. Later, during the dancing, I overheard my mother talking to a friend. My younger daughter has never quite lived up to family expectations. Such a shame, but what can you do? They make their choices. That was it. The final straw. I found John at the bar. I need to leave, I whispered. We slipped out quietly. Back in our hotel room, I broke down. I can't do this anymore, I sobbed. They will never see me as good enough. Nothing I accomplish will ever matter because it's not what they wanted for me. John held me. Then maybe it's time to stop trying to earn their approval, he said. Maybe it's time to build a life that makes you proud, regardless of what they think. That night, we made 2 significant decisions. First, we would postpone our wedding indefinitely. The idea of a celebration focused on family felt hollow now. Second, and more importantly, I would establish clear boundaries with my parents and sister. No more subjecting myself to their judgment and conditional love. The next morning, I blocked their numbers and social media. I sent a brief email explaining I needed space. Then, John and I went home, ready to build our future without the shadow of family disapproval. It was the hardest decision I'd ever made, but also the most liberating. Little did I know, this painful break would set us on a path to success beyond anything I could have imagined. The first year after cutting contact was the hardest. Birthdays, holidays, even random Tuesdays when a childhood memory surfaced, they were all moments of grief. I mourned not just the relationship we had, but the one I'd always hoped for. The silence from their end was deafening, confirming their love had been conditional. John suggested therapy, and after some reluctance, I agreed. Dr. Levine, my therapist, helped me understand the emotional neglect, the conditional parenting that had defined my childhood. Love and approval are given only when the child meets certain expectations, she explained. It's damaging because it teaches children their inherent value is tied to performance or compliance. But why did they treat Vanessa differently? I asked, a question that had haunted me for years. Some parents unconsciously designate roles to their children, the golden child, the scapegoat. It says more about their own needs and insecurities than about either of you. Week by week, I began to untangle my sense of self from their expectations. The qualities they criticized, my independence, my determination, were actually my strengths. One evening, John suggested a shift in focus. I know processing your family stuff is important, he said. But what if we also put energy into building the future we want, not as a reaction to them, but as a positive choice for ourselves? His words resonated deep inside me. For so long, I defined myself in opposition to their expectations. What if I defined myself by my own aspirations? The next day, I created a vision board, not luxury cars, but meaningful goals, financial independence, work that made a difference, a home that felt safe, relationships based on mutual respect. John and I both dove into our careers with renewed focus. I led high-profile digital campaigns, earning a promotion to associate director with a substantial raise. John's coding skills also earned him a promotion, stock options, and a doubled salary. Over a celebratory dinner, John dropped an idea. What if we started our own company? My technical skills, your marketing expertise, there's a gap in the market. The idea took root immediately. We spent evenings and weekends developing a business plan. 6 months later, Digital Nexus was born, operating from our apartment living room. The early days were challenging. We invested most of our savings, worked 16-hour days. Our first client, a small local business owner, took a chance on us. The project was a success, leading to referrals and a growing client base. For months in, we landed a major client, a regional restaurant chain needing a complete digital overhaul. The pressure was immense. The night before the client presentation, we worked until 3 a.m., fine-tuning everything. I looked at John, his face lit by the computer screen, and felt a surge of gratitude. My biological family had dismissed our potential, but we were building something meaningful together. The presentation was a triumph. The client approved our work and referred us to several partners. Within 6 months, we had enough business to lease a small office and hire 3 full-time employees. By the end of our first year, Digital Nexus had a reputation for innovation. Our team grew to 12. Our client roster included recognizable brands. Through it all, my family remained absent. Occasionally, a generic birthday card or a holiday mass email would arrive. My father never reached out. Vanessa sent a stiff announcement of her first pregnancy, addressed to Sarah and guest instead of John by name. These small reminders still hurt, but the pain was dulled by the joy and fulfillment I found in the life John and I were creating. We had built a chosen family, friends, mentors, a supportive community that celebrated our successes and stood by us through challenges. On our 3rd anniversary, John revisited the idea of getting married. Not a big production, he clarified, just something intimate with the people who have actually been there for us. 2 months later, we exchanged vows in the garden of our favorite restaurant, surrounded by 20 friends who had become family. My colleague Sophia was my maid of honor, John's best friend from college, his best man. No elaborate florals or designer attire, just sincere vows and genuine celebration. The total cost was under $8,000, a fraction of Vanessa's wedding. As we danced under string lights, I knew our celebration held something money couldn't buy: authenticity. I didn't invite my parents or Vanessa. The decision brought some sadness, but also a sense of protection for this new chapter of our lives. Our wedding would not be tainted by their judgment or conditional approval. The months after our wedding brought unexpected developments for Digital Nexus. A case study we published went viral, bringing attention from larger clients and investors. Suddenly, venture capitalists were calling. After careful consideration, we accepted an investment that allowed us to scale significantly. We moved to larger offices, expanded our team to 30, and developed proprietary software. 18 months later, a major tech company approached us about an acquisition. The initial offer was substantial, but we were hesitant to give up the company we'd built. After several rounds of negotiation, we reached an agreement that exceeded our wildest expectations, $20 million, with both of us retained as consultants. The night the papers were signed, John and I sat on our apartment floor, champagne between us, slightly dazed. We did it, John whispered, his voice catching. We really did it. I thought about the journey from that painful dinner with my parents to this moment of extraordinary success. Every dismissal, every judgment, every time they told me I wasn't good enough had ultimately pushed me to prove, not to them, but to myself, that I could create a life of meaning and achievement on my own terms. I want to buy a house, I said suddenly, a real home somewhere we can put down roots. John smiled. I was thinking the same thing. Let's start looking tomorrow. Little did I know that our new home would become the catalyst for an unexpected confrontation with the past I had worked so hard to leave behind. With our newfound financial security, John and I began searching for our dream home. Not ostentatious, but a property that reflected our personal aesthetic. After 3 months, we found it, a stunning contemporary home in an exclusive neighborhood, 2 acres, city skyline views. It was architectural perfection, 4,000 square feet, floor-to-ceiling windows, a gourmet kitchen, a luxury spa bathroom. The outside featured an infinity pool, an outdoor kitchen. It was everything my parents' traditional colonial home was not. The asking price was just under $2 million. We could buy it outright. The day we signed the closing documents, I felt a sense of achievement that went beyond material acquisition. This home represented freedom, the tangible result of following my own path, despite the disapproval of those who should have supported me most. We took our time furnishing it, creating a space that was both luxurious and welcoming. It became a true home, where we hosted dinner parties for friends who had become family. We even launched a new business venture, a software platform for small businesses, which grew even faster than our first. As our achievements accumulated, I occasionally heard snippets about my family through mutual acquaintances. My father had been named in a medical malpractice lawsuit, damaging his reputation. Though settled, the financial impact was significant, forcing my parents to downsize. Vanessa's marriage to Gregory was also hitting rough waters. His family's wealth, the primary factor in my parents' approval, turned out to be an illusion, maintained through excessive debt. When his father's company faced bankruptcy, the facade crumbled. Gregory lost his nominal job and struggled to find employment without actual skills. Vanessa and Gregory were forced to sell their expensive home and move to a modest townhouse. Vanessa took a job in corporate marketing, finally putting her business degree to use out of necessity. These developments didn't bring me joy. I didn't wish hardship on my family. But there was a certain poetic justice in the collapse of the very things they had valued above genuine connection and unconditional love. One bright spring Saturday, John and I were enjoying breakfast on our patio when my phone buzzed. It was Sophia, one of the few friends who knew my family history. Just saw your sister driving slowly past your house. Thought you should know. A chill went down my spine. Sophia lived 3 houses down and had recognized Vanessa. The idea of Vanessa essentially spying on our home was disturbing. Are you sure? I texted back. Positive. She stopped across the street for several minutes just staring at your house. I made eye contact. She drove away immediately. I showed the message to John. That's strange. Just curious or something else? No idea, I admitted. We haven't spoken in over 3 years. Later that afternoon, my question was answered. My phone rang with a number I hadn't seen in years, my mother's. My finger hovered over decline, but curiosity won. Hello. I answered cautiously. Sarah, is that really you? Her voice sounded older, more tentative. Yes, it's me. Is everything okay? Despite everything, my first thought was concern. Yes, well, as okay as can be expected. She paused. I think we're overdue for a conversation, don't you? It's been too long. The casual way she referred to our estrangement, as if it had been a mutual decision rather than their rejection, made me grip the phone tighter. Why are you calling now after all this time? I asked directly. Another pause. We miss you, Sarah. Family shouldn't be apart like this. And well, Vanessa mentioned she happened to drive by your new home today. It looks quite impressive. There it was. Not concern for my well-being or regret for past treatment, but an awareness of my financial success. She didn't happen to drive by, I corrected. We live in a gated community 40 minutes from her neighborhood. She would have had to deliberately seek out our address. Well, regardless, my mother continued, glossing over the fact. It made us realize how long it's been. We'd love to visit your new home, reconnect, put the past behind us. I closed my eyes, processing this sudden reappearance. 3 years of silence, then Vanessa drives by my house, and suddenly they want to reconcile? I need to think about this, I said finally. I'll call you back. John listened as I recounted the conversation. It sounds like they found out you're successful and now they want to be part of it, he observed. The timing is suspicious, to say the least. I nodded, the same thought having crossed my mind. But part of me wondered if I should at least hear them out, not for their sake, but for my own closure. After much discussion, John and I agreed to a limited meeting. I would invite them to our home, establish clear boundaries, and see if genuine reconciliation was possible, or if their motives were as self-serving as we suspected. I called my mother back the next day. You can come for coffee this Saturday at 2, I said, keeping my tone neutral. Just to talk. Wonderful, she exclaimed. Your father and I will be there. Should we bring anything? Just yourselves, I replied. And Mom, Vanessa is welcome to come too. There was a moment of silence. Oh, I'll let her know. I'm sure she'd love to see you. After ending the call, I felt a mixture of anxiety and resolution. Whatever happened on Saturday, I would face my family from a position of strength, secure in the life and identity I had built for myself. They no longer held power over my sense of worth or belonging. Saturday arrived with clear skies. John and I prepared coffee and pastries, setting everything on the patio overlooking the pool and garden. As the clock approached 2 p.m., the gate security called to announce visitors. Minutes later, a car I didn't recognize pulled into our circular driveway. My father emerged first, followed by my mother, both looking older than I remembered. Last to exit was Vanessa, her expression unreadable. John squeezed my hand once before we moved to open the front door. The moment had arrived, to face the family that had once told me I didn't deserve their support. Only now, I was standing in a $2 million home that I had earned entirely without them. Opening the door after 3 years of separation felt surreal. My father had more gray in his hair, deep lines around his eyes. My mother looked thinner, her carefully maintained appearance showing signs of strain. Vanessa, holding a designer purse that looked new but was probably from a previous season, had the pinched expression of someone trying very hard to appear unbothered. Sarah, my mother said, stepping forward with arms outstretched, as if the years of silence had been a minor misunderstanding. You look wonderful. I accepted her brief hug without returning it, then nodded to my father and sister. Please come in. Their eyes darted around our entryway, taking in the soaring ceiling, the modern chandelier, the original artwork. My mother made a small noise of appreciation. Your home is lovely, she offered as I led them through to the main living area. So contemporary. Thank you, John replied, stepping forward to stand beside me. We designed some elements ourselves. My father extended his hand stiffly. John, you're looking well. As are you, sir, John replied with professional courtesy. I thought we could sit outside. I gestured toward the patio. The weather is perfect. They followed us out to the patio. The spectacular view offered a natural conversation piece, and the open space prevented any feeling of being trapped. As we settled around the table, an awkward silence fell. I made no move to break it, curious to see how they would begin a conversation they had requested. Well, my mother finally said, reaching for a pastry. This is nice. Family together again. Is it? I asked, my voice calm but direct. Family together again after 3 years without a word. My father cleared his throat. Now, Sarah, there's no need for hostility. We are here to reconnect. I'm not being hostile, I clarified. Just realistic. You wanted this meeting, so I assume you have something specific to discuss. My mother shot a glance at my father. We have missed you, she said, her voice taking on the placating tone she'd always used to smooth over tensions. We think it's time to put the past behind us. What past are we referring to exactly? I asked. The part where you told me I didn't deserve your support? Or the part where you called me a disappointment for making my own choices? Vanessa, who had remained silent, shifted uncomfortably. We all say things we regret in the heat of the moment, she offered. It was not the heat of the moment, I corrected her. It was a consistent pattern throughout my life. And it wasn't just words, it was actions, or rather the lack of them. My father set down his coffee cup with deliberate precision. We may have been too harsh, he conceded, the closest thing to an apology I had ever heard from him. But you have clearly done well for yourself. This property, your business success, it is all very impressive. There it was. The acknowledgement of my financial achievement, rather than any recognition of the pain they had caused. I noticed he spoke of your business success rather than asking any specific questions about what John and I actually did or how we had built our companies. We have worked hard, John said, his tone neutral. Built 2 successful companies from the ground up. Yes, we heard about your software venture, my mother said, brightening. Patricia Wilson's son works in tech, and he mentioned your name at their dinner party last month. We were so proud to say you were our daughter. The irony was almost painful. After years of expressing disappointment, they were now claiming pride in my success, but only after it had been validated by their social circle. Funny, I said, unable to keep the edge from my voice. I don't recall you being proud when I first launched the business. In fact, I don't recall hearing from you at all. My father waved his hand dismissively. Water under the bridge. The important thing is family coming together now. Why no? John asked directly. Why, after 3 years of no contact? The question hung in the air, uncomfortable but necessary. My mother glanced at Vanessa, then back at me. Well, family shouldn't stay estranged, she said vaguely. And when we realized how well you were doing, it seemed silly to maintain old grievances. When you realized how well we were doing, I repeated, after Vanessa drove by our house? Vanessa flushed slightly. It wasn't like that. I heard through a colleague that you had moved to this neighborhood. I was just curious. Curious enough to look up our address and drive 40 minutes to see it, but not curious enough to call or email in 3 years? The conversation stalled again, the pastries untouched. My father, always the pragmatist, decided to change tactics. The truth is, Sarah, he said, leaning forward. Our family has hit a rough patch. I don't know if you heard about the lawsuit. I heard, I said simply. He nodded, relieved to skip the explanation. The settlement was substantial. Insurance covered some, but not all. We've had to make adjustments. Dad had to take early retirement, Vanessa added, and sell the house. I'm sorry to hear that, I said, and I meant it. Despite everything, I took no pleasure in their difficulties. And Gregory's family situation has been challenging as well, my mother continued, glancing sympathetically at Vanessa. The Harringtons are not quite as established as we had believed. Vanessa looked down at her hands. Gregory has been between positions for almost a year now. And with the baby coming. You're pregnant? I asked, genuinely surprised. She nodded, a flicker of real emotion crossing her face. 5 months. For a brief moment, I felt a pang of connection to this unborn niece I might never know. But the feeling was quickly overshadowed by the realization that this entire reunion had an ulterior motive, which was becoming increasingly clear. Congratulations, I said sincerely. Children are a blessing. My mother seized on this moment of warmth. They are indeed, which is why family is so important. Supporting each other through challenges, celebrating successes together. My father, less patient, cut to the chase. The medical community can be unforgiving after a malpractice case. Rebuilding my reputation requires connections, resources. And Gregory needs investors for his new business venture, Vanessa added, something in tech, like what you and John do. He has excellent ideas, just needs the right backing. And of course, my mother concluded, families should support each other the way we supported Vanessa's wedding, for instance. It's just what families do. The audacity was breathtaking. After telling me I didn't deserve their support, after years of silence, they were now sitting in my home, expecting financial assistance. Not because they acknowledged their past behavior or showed genuine remorse, but simply because we shared DNA and I now had resources they wanted. I looked at John, finding in his eyes the steadfastness that had been my true support through everything. Then I turned back to my family, feeling strangely calm and clear. I think I understand now why you wanted to reconnect, I said, my voice even. And I appreciate your honesty, even if it took seeing my home to bring it about. My mother smiled, seemingly relieved that the subtext was now text. So, you will help? We're thinking a loan to start, perhaps $200,000 to help your father reestablish his consulting practice, and maybe the same for Gregory's venture. Family investing in family. The casual way she named these substantial sums, as if they were insignificant tokens rather than more money than they had ever offered me, confirmed everything I needed to know. I stood up slowly, straightening to my full height. I need to be honest with you too, I said. I did not invite you here today to negotiate financial arrangements. I invited you because part of me wondered if genuine reconciliation was possible. My father frowned. Sarah, don't be dramatic. We are simply discussing practical family matters. No, I corrected him. You're asking for financial help from the daughter you explicitly told was undeserving of your support. The daughter whose life choices you criticized and whose wedding you refused to contribute to because, and I quote, I had not earned it. Vanessa interjected, that was different. We didn't know you would become so successful. Her words hung in the air, the naked truth finally exposed. Their treatment of me had been based on a calculation of what I could provide them, not on unconditional love or belief in my worth. Thank you for that clarification, Vanessa, I said quietly. It tells me everything I need to know. I turned to my parents, feeling not anger, but a profound sadness for what might have been. I think you should leave now. All of you. My mother gasped dramatically. You are throwing us out? Your own family? I am asking you to leave my home, I corrected. The home I built without your support or approval. The home that apparently only made me worthy of your attention once you saw it. My father stood abruptly. This is outrageous. After all we have done for you. What exactly have you done for me? I asked, genuinely curious. He sputtered, unable to provide specific examples. We raised you, educated you. You provided the legal minimum required of parents, I countered, and made it clear at every turn that I was less valuable than my sister because I didn't conform to your expectations. So, you won't help us? Vanessa asked, her voice small. Not even for your niece? The appeal to family obligation was ironic, coming from someone who had stood by silently while our parents dismissed my worth. Still, I felt a twinge of compassion for the unborn child. I will not be financially supporting Dad's career rehabilitation or Gregory's business venture, I said firmly. But I would be willing to set up an education fund for your daughter, provided it is in her name only and cannot be accessed for any other purpose. My offer, meant as a genuine olive branch to my future niece, was met with indignation. How dare you dictate terms to us? My mother snapped. John, who had remained admirably restrained, finally spoke. I think Sarah has been more than generous given the circumstances. Now, I suggest you respect her request to leave. My father glared at him. This conversation is between family members. John is my family, I said firmly. The family I chose, who has supported me unconditionally. Something the three of you might want to reflect on. There was a moment of tense silence before my father turned and headed toward the door. My mother followed, pausing only to say, "You will regret this selfishness, Sarah. When we are gone, you will wish you had been a better daughter." Vanessa lingered briefly, something unreadable in her expression. For a moment, I thought she might say something meaningful. Instead, she simply said, "The offer for the baby fund, does it still stand?" "It does," I confirmed. "Contact my lawyer and we'll arrange it." She nodded once, then followed our parents. I watched through the window as they drove away, their car growing smaller until it disappeared beyond our gates. Only then did I allow myself to sink into a chair, emotionally exhausted. "Are you okay?" John asked, sitting beside me. "I don't know," I admitted. "But I think I will be." What I couldn't have anticipated was the flood of emails, texts, and voicemails that began arriving within hours of their departure. My father demanding reconsideration. My mother alternating between guilt trips and thinly veiled threats about being written out of their will. Vanessa pleading for me to understand their difficult situation. Each message confirmed I had made the right decision. They still saw me not as a person deserving of respect and genuine connection, but as a resource to be accessed when convenient. That night, I decided to send one final message, an email addressed to all three, expressing exactly what I had learned. It would be my last communication for a very long time. The days following their visit were emotionally turbulent. I fluctuated between certainty that I had done the right thing and waves of grief for the relationships that might have been. John gave me space when I needed it, comfort when I asked. "You set a boundary," he reminded me. "That's not rejection. It's self-protection." A week after their visit, I sat at my desk, overlooking our garden, and composed the email I had been drafting in my mind. It would be my final word. "Dear Mom, Dad, and Vanessa, I have given our recent reunion considerable thought. I want to be clear that this email is not written in anger, but from a place of clarity that has taken years to achieve. I do not hate any of you. I do not wish you ill. In fact, I hope you find your way through your current challenges. However, I cannot provide the financial assistance you are seeking. This is not about punishing you for past behavior or withholding out of spite. It is about recognizing that our relationship has never been based on mutual respect or unconditional love, but rather on my compliance with your expectations. For Vanessa, I have arranged an education trust for your daughter, as promised. My lawyer will contact you with the details. This is not because I feel obligated, but because I want your child to have options regardless of our complicated history. Beyond this, I ask that you respect my decision to maintain distance. The 3 years we spent apart were painful, but also healing. I built a life that brings me joy and fulfillment, surrounded by people who value me for who I am, not what I can provide or how I reflect on them. If someday you are interested in a relationship based on genuine connection rather than financial need, I might be open to that conversation. Until then, I wish you well, but need to protect the peace and happiness I have worked so hard to create. Sarah. I hit send before I could second-guess myself, then closed my laptop. There was a finality to the action that brought both sadness and relief. I had said what needed to be said, without cruelty, but also without compromise. The responses were predictable, my father calling me selfish, my mother detailing all her sacrifices, Vanessa suggesting I was harsh. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, John and I focused on moving forward. We established a scholarship foundation for first-generation college students, offering tuition assistance, mentorship, and networking, the kind of support I'd wished for. We created an incubator program for women-owned startups. Watching these businesses grow brought a satisfaction deeper than any luxury purchase. In our personal life, we nurtured our chosen family, hosting dinners, celebrating milestones. These relationships, based on mutual respect and genuine care, showed me what healthy connections truly looked like. 6 months after the confrontation, I discovered I was pregnant. The joy and trepidation of impending parenthood sparked deep reflection on the kind of mother I wanted to be. I want our child to know they are loved unconditionally, I told John. That their worth isn't tied to achievements or compliance. They will, John assured me, because we both understand how important that is. As my pregnancy progressed, I thought often about the patterns of family dysfunction. I read books, joined support groups, even resumed therapy to process my own childhood before bringing a new life into the world. One evening, sorting through old photographs, I found a picture of myself at 7, standing proudly beside a science fair project, a blue ribbon pinned to my shirt. I remembered that day, the excitement of presenting my work. What I also remembered, with adult perspective, was my parents' lukewarm response. "Second place is nice," my father had said. "Vanessa won first last year." Looking at that hopeful child, I made a silent promise to my unborn baby: you will never be compared. Your achievements will be celebrated for their own merit, not measured against someone else's standard. Your worth will never be in question. 2 months later, our daughter Emma was born, a healthy baby with John's eyes and my determined chin. Holding her in the hospital, I felt a love so pure and unconditional that it highlighted, by contrast, the conditional nature of the love I had received growing up. My parents and Vanessa sent obligatory cards and a gift for the baby. I sent polite thank you notes, but no invitations to visit. The boundaries remained important, perhaps even more so now that I was protecting not just myself, but my child. As Emma grew, I watched with wonder the person she was becoming, delighting in her uniqueness. When she showed interest in anything, we encouraged her curiosity without judgment or expectation. On her 3rd birthday, celebrating with our close friends who had become her honorary aunts and uncles, I reflected on the journey that had brought me to this point. From the painful dinner where my parents had declared me undeserving, to the creation of thriving businesses, to this moment of simple joy, watching my daughter blow out candles, supported by people who loved us authentically. The greatest success in my life was not the $2 million home or the profitable businesses. It was building a life aligned with my own values rather than someone else's expectations. It was creating a family culture based on acceptance and support rather than conditional approval and comparison. Sometimes, the greatest gift we can receive is the rejection that forces us to find our own path. My parents telling me I didn't deserve their help pushed me to prove, not to them, but to myself, that I could create something meaningful on my own terms. Their rejection, painful as it was, ultimately freed me from the constraints of their narrow definition of success. The family we are born into shapes us, but it does not define us. Sometimes we must create our own definition of family, gathering people who see our worth and support our authentic selves. And sometimes, the most loving thing we can do for ourselves is to maintain boundaries with those who cannot, or will not, offer the respect and acceptance we deserve. I don't know if my relationship with my parents and sister will ever heal. What I do know is that I am no longer waiting for their approval or validation. I am too busy living a life that makes me proud, raising a daughter who will never question her inherent value, and contributing to a world that recognizes worth beyond material success or social standing. I didn't build this life to prove anything to my family, but I have come to understand that sometimes the cruelest rejections open the most beautiful doors. You never know how strong you are until being strong is your only option. Have you ever had to choose between your family's expectations and your own path? How did you handle that difficult decision, and what did you learn? I really want to know what you think in the comments below.